everybody. So today's project is one for the birds. So we're gonna make an A-frame shelter for my mom's ducks. You can hear them outside. We're gonna use some pressure treated and some tongue and groove board. It's all just a bunch of stuff I had laying around for some other projects.
This is all wood from an old project that I'm repurposing. I'm gonna rebuild that project at a later date. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is a behind the scenes look at how the magic happens. I just rub two sticks together and just sort of see what falls out. Today what fell out was an A-frame shelter for the birds. So all this repurposed wood, it's got to get cut down to assorted lengths. I'm going to make a equilateral triangle, question mark. I think that's what it's called. So we got to get all these angles down to the same size. If you haven't been able to tell, this is the very first video I've ever recorded, as made evident by the fact that the videography literally went sideways. And another good sign, half my videos all start with a big close-up.
Alright, so we cut these down. Obviously, you saw some boo-boos there. Apparently, I couldn't figure out which way was up. Figured it out eventually, though. So, next thing I have to do is I have to run it down my table saw that I've got right here. You'll see that in a second. So, on these boards, these ones that we're reusing, there's this big groove right here. And there used to be a wire frame inside of this groove that I'd use to display my products and stuff when I go to shows. I need to cut that out because that is completely unnecessary now. So we're going to put this down the table saw and remove this stuff. This guy seems to be the shortest one, so we're going to base the fence off this guy and go from there. So I made a bit of an error here. Originally I cut these boards with the intent that the cut edges would meet at the top, but I definitely did my math wrong. I cut them at 30-degree angles. Should have cut them at 15. I'm thinking about recutting them. However, I'll show you what happened here. I think I like that better. I think I'll just make that work better because it seems to meet up at a level surface much better. So I guess I'll just figure that out. So to fix that little mess up, what we're going to do is we're going to take 1.5 inches off of this end. Actually off of this end because this is a little bit ugly over here. And then they will line up nice and, well, square. I mean, it's triangle, but it's square for a triangle, right?
So I remember my geometry teacher being in her first year of teaching and being very stressed out. Maybe that's why all this stuff sounds a little goofy. And look at that awesome videography. Instead of moving the camera to me, no, I'll just come down to the camera. You know, if you keep watching, I just keep getting lower and lower. Here's a little bit of my own personal flavor here. I like to get my face right in the action. That way you're right up on it when those chips and pieces come flying out. Don't be like me. Don't.
Alright, so now that this is all routed out, we're going to move on to putting these pieces together. We're going to actually screw this end to one of the longer pieces over there. I'm not a geometry expert, so it's going to be a lot easier for me to actually put these together than measure that actual distance, instead of trying to try and whip out the Pythagorean theorem or whatever it is. But before I do that, I have to clean up this.
Alright, so it's all going to start coming together now. I know up until this point it's just looked like I've done a bunch of weird things with a bunch of ugly pieces of wood, but it has all actually been for one very specific purpose. See, everything I do, I drill a pilot hole. I don't have the time or the patience to be blowing out wood and constantly replacing it, so it's worth a little extra time to me to just drill a quick pilot hole, and then I can slap the new screw in with no issue at all. So I'm I'm running down the table saw right now the pieces that will go in between the two triangle halves that you just saw on the bench. And all of this tongue and groove right here, I already know the length of it. It's all going to fit into that slot that you see right there. Love being able to just cut all my pieces in bulk and then just slap them in. I know up until this point it's looked a little goofy, but now you can actually start to see there's a real structure taking shape. Almost as if I know what I'm doing. Pilot holes. This is all cedar tongue and groove. This stuff is not free. So I really don't want to blow it out and have to go back to Home Depot just to buy a single board. And bam, here we go. Giving you guys an action shot. Normally you gotta pay extra for that, but today we're giving it to you for free. I know I've been complaining about the videography up until this point, but bam. It's like a Michael Bay movie up in here. Alright, so now I'm going to be putting a crossbar up at the very top of this structure. And what you saw me there do was mark out the shape of the angle. And I'm going to cut that out on this little piece of scrap wood and use it as a guide to adjust the table saw. So the table saw is going to be running at the right angles for that cross piece that you see there. I find it a million times easier to just measure to reality than to try to whip out some fancy math formula or whatever. Again, I'm sure my poor geometry teacher is just very unhappy, but you know, it is what it is. Alright, so that top piece is definitely